I faked a pregnancy and a miscarriage to everyone around me. My fiancé at the time, 28M, and I, 22F, were trying for a baby a few years into our relationship. We were going through a rough patch, and I thought that if we had a baby like he wanted, his behavior would change. Biggest mistake of my life. I was immediately regretful. I couldn't believe I had gone as far as faking positive pregnancy results. I made the decision quickly that I could never let anyone know about this, and I started making a long-term plan to make things look and seem like they just didn't work out for us. I promised I would take this secret to the grave with me, but it has been eating me alive every day since then. It's terrible. What I did was terrible in ways that I cannot describe. It's just so fucked up, and I don't even understand why I did it. I don't understand why, in that moment, that's what I decided to do. I know and fully acknowledge that I am much more than a huge piece of shit for putting someone through that. And I can't even honestly begin to describe how bad I feel for doing these things, and I should, to be honest. Edit. I've already talked with my therapist about this, and we talked about the choices I had, and agreed that the best decision is to tell him when he has a second to understand the weight of things. I've already talked with who I need to talk to understand why I did these things, and am seeking out the professionals I need. A lot of people here are only looking at things from one side, but need to realize that I hurt a lot of people in this process, whether it was badly or not. I had expecting parents giddy for a new grandchild, friends who were so excited for me and started giving me advice right away. I very much should feel bad about this, but all I can do is take the right steps now to repair things the best I can. There really isn't anything anyone can say to convince me to not tell him about this for the sake of both of us. I needed to let go of the guilt I've been carrying around for years, and that's all this post was. Admitting what I did. Second edit. Sorry this ended up being so long. I expected things to be a little busy, but definitely not to blow up so quickly. After reading a lot of the comments and thinking about what the majority of what I'm seeing, I understand things from a different perspective now. I understand that bringing things up now would give him something more to grieve about when he's probably already moved past things. I will continue to just talk to my therapist about how to move past it without having to tell him. And now to the next story, story 2. I lied ABT going to college for 3 years to family and friends, but really been doing nothing. I am ready for whatever shame or anything that comes my way. I really need to hear it as a wake-up call. Wrote this last night. Sorry for the grammars, I did write this fast. Growing up in a strict Asian household as the eldest child, 21F, I've carried immense pressure from my immigrant parents. To cope, I've resorted to a web of lies, culminating in a monumental deceit, pretending to attend college for nearly 3 years. This all started back in 2020. I went to community college, so still living at home, but due to COVID classes had to be online. Well, I lacked motivation, and my mental health, even now, was terrible. Led me to fail the entire semester. I should have just withdrawn from all my 6 classes I was taking, but I thought I could fix my mistakes. Anyways, I obviously didn't tell my parents till the end of the semester that I failed. I basically had to confess during New Year's Eve BC. My mom caught on that something was up. My parents have both advocated for school and think it's the only way to a successful life. We had a major argument that almost led my almost dad throwing and hitting something at me. During those times I opened up about my mental health, such as depression, and while that wasn't fun as my dad doesn't believe in that stuff, and while my mom is a little more sympathetic, she's still skeptical. That's besides the point. Basically, I got a job and my parents told me that I only had a month to take, I guess, what was a semester break. It got me in another argument BC. I felt a month was too short of a break for me and that I needed at least a year to really get myself together. I lost that argument and went back to school. I did 2 really fast-paced online classes. I actually did pretty good in those 2 classes. Managed to get my GPA slightly up. The next STEM I did pretty decent. It wasn't until spring 2022 where the grades came crashing. I learned something ABT myself during those times, and it's any time I tended to really well in something I stopped trying BC. I think everything will work out. I told my parents what happened and that I wanted to drop out. They gave me an ultimatum: either I find some job, and then move out or stay in school. This is where I foo. Get up. I wish I took the job offer instead of sticking with school. I mean, I told them I'd rather work, but the guilt I had choose that path ate me up. They looked so disappointed, especially my dad. BC, his dream is for me to get an education. It really had me questioning if I'm doing this just to please them, which I was. BC, I chose to go back to school. Now this where the lies begin. I basically flunked out of college, so I couldn't take any classes for 2 whole semesters. Also, this whole time I am going to school for free. My school is getting paid for. So what did I do? I would pretend to leave for school, then I deepen the lie by saying I was able to transfer schools, and now my supposed graduation is coming up this week. Okay, well, the first half of the year back in fall 2022, I literally did nothing. I would just sit in the car or at my campus library and watch YouTube all day. Anyways, I ended up getting a new job. Wasn't so bad, but I left the job. Fast forward to January-March 2023, I sent in my appeal letter to my school and got accepted back to like 3 classes over the summer. Did okay. I did withdraw from one, I believe, but wanted to move school. Start fresh. So I started looking up online schools or just any school, whether it was a trade/vocational, beauty, and just any sort of program to help at least have something. I told myself once I got that sorted out, I'd tell them. I didn't get things sorted out. I still am. I started doing some self-learning. I have a passion for film and graphic design, so been studying on that. Learning stuff on digital marketing through YouTube. BC, why not? Maybe get into content creation, be a UGC creator. I've been studying for the CLEP exam in case I do want to back to college. I can just take tests to get out of retaking all my failed classes. Started DoorDash just a month ago. While it isn't some crazy money, at least I'm making something. Also go to the gym and been working on my health. Most of the time, though, it's just me doing research and not getting into action. Mostly because I'm scared to take risk. I can't even say the small things about myself to my parents. I don't even think they truly know me. For example, I have an interest in fashion. I've seen these girls online start business where they help style people. They buy items and pieces that match the client's style and aesthetic. That sounds like so much fun and something I'd love to try. Another thing is psychology, and even sex psychology. I've heard some people say I'd make a good sex therapist with the advice I give and how open I am about it all. Plus, I've always been fascinated by these industry. Not that I'd ever join, just so curious as to why one would choose that life, and how as a society we indulge in it. Anyways, hopefully I can share that with them when I confess. BC, I might confess a lot more than this. Either due to the depression and anxiety I got, which I really should see a therapist for. I desperately need one. Also considering I might have ADHD due to the lack of focus and commitment I have. While not being in college or having an actual stable job did make me slightly happy, as I didn't have to worry ABT an assignment due or a shift to go to. This 3 years of self-reflect made me understand how privileged I am. I gotta go to school for free, and I've just been leeching off my parents for everything. People would probably ill to be in my shoes. I feel like I've been ungrateful and selfish for the lies I've told. You'd think after the first 2 incidents I would learn my lesson, but clearly not. I haven't only hurt my parents, but my younger sister as well. The amount of pressure she must be in to succeed. BC, I ended up becoming the failure. I mean, she's told me this recently, so I know. I feel like a shitty, terrible person, like I've committed a crime. I know me feeling bad doesn't make me a shitty person, but I just feel like I don't deserve this privileged life I've been given. My parents walked hard for this, and for me to just tear it all down. Like, the only reason I ended up here is BC, I failed a shit ton of classes in college, and I'm not stupid, it's just I'm so lazy that it really hit me hard. I need some motivation, like some good motivation. I have days where I feel strong and determined, and most lazy, tired and undetermined. Now, at a crossroads, I grapple with conflicting desires. To please my parents with academic success, or to forge my own path towards personal fulfillment. It's like, what do I choose to do? I'm already 21. I don't have like a set in stone goals. Like, I want to do everything and nothing at the same time. I want to turn my life around. I don't want to live with my parents forever, but the future scares me. I honestly didn't think I'd be alive right now. Not that I've ever KMS, but I have thought ABT it. Even now Eve thought ABT that, or running away instead of facing the truth. Tomorrow, well today since I just posted it, I must confront them with my truth, armed with a somewhat tentative plan for the future, acknowledging the need to grow up and shoulder responsibility, even if it means severing financial ties. I've read similar stories to mine on here. Some got good high-paying jobs and some even kept the lie going. Got fake degrees and everything. Wish some gave updates. My reaction is wow. It's nice to know I'm not alone in this situation. Others have been there. It feels good to get this off my chest because Eve been keeping this to myself for 3 years. Only one other person knows, which I told them recently in case I get kicked out. That I know this is all fault and I really have no excuses. I can't keep lying as much as I want to. I can't. I know they will definitely get angry, but I know it's out of love and care, hopefully. I'm ready to turn my life around even if it's challenging. Sorry making this so long. By the way, forgot to mention what I was majoring in. Education, haha, ironic. I wanted to be a teacher, I guess. It's weird I still do but don't. Update. Well, I'm gonna tell them when they come home from church, or when I do BCI volunteer at the Sunday school. So I have to go to church. While I'm not super religious, maybe if I pray to God or Jesus, both can give some guidance or a miracle. Who knows? Maybe my parents know this whole time and are letting me keep up the lie till I confess. I've had my suspicions. Anyways, regardless, it will be painful. Especially after church. My mom wants to throw me a graduation party, and I'm sure right now she's telling people about it. I wish I had just said something as soon as she brought that up yesterday. The more I delay, the more mess it will cause. I've already delayed for almost 3 years. I think I got so caught up in my lie, it just never really hit me that I had to tell them the truth. I'd leave every morning around a certain time, and then I'd just do whatever. Forgetting this major situation. Hell, I almost was considering buying a fake degree and saying I actually don't want to go to my graduation anymore. Also, I mentioned in the comments about needing school receipts. I was going to make fake ones. That would be crime. This is how mentally fucked up I've become. I don't deserve my family's forgiveness. I did so much hurt to them. Now to the next story, story 3. I made a very heavy mess in my school bus. I know this may seem a little less harsh than some, but it is something I needed off my chest. So I was on a map trip, where last year, if you got a good grade on a map test, you could go to this trip. We went to the place, then to an Andy's, which sells ice cream. It was first time having Andy's, so I definitely wanted to try something. So I kept some money my mom gave me so I could get something. As I got my simple vanilla ice cream, since I'm a very simple person, and I sat outside on a little bench with my ice cream. One of the teachers, which was my ELA teacher, probably made one of the worst choices she probably had ever made, by making me go into the bus. While I barely even started eating my ice cream. I tried my genuinely best to not make a mess, but ice cream is way more messy than you probably think. Every second, it dripped on the floor. I felt so uncomfortable with how I was making a tiny puddle of somewhat melted ice cream. Plus, I don't like talking to people, made it so that I said nothing about what was going on. I just quickly ate my ice cream so I wouldn't make a big mess, which still happened. My anxiety was so high I was imaging what would happen when a teacher saw the mess. As I finished my cone, I casually threw it away, like there wasn't a big puddle of melted ice cream on the ground. Took an hour to get to school. An hour. An hour of a puddle of melted ice cream was just sitting there, moving along when the bus turned. As soon as we could get off the bus, I rushed to leave because I was probably gonna have a panic attack. I sat in the room I picked for RTI for a couple minutes before the school announcement goes something like, all students that were on the map trip, come back to the bus. I felt so nervous because I knew they saw the puddle. A janitor was freaking out because the mess was so bad, plus, apparently some other kids spilt. Like an entire cup of soda as well? That just added to the mess. My math teacher looked more mad than she could ever be. She went on to say how bad the messes were, and that we could not go on trips anymore because of how the kids made both the place we went to and the bus messy. Then, I can vividly remember a conversation going, "Math teacher, so who did it?" Some kid, probably 8th grade. Did what? Pure confusion, math teacher. The ice cream puddle? The one that made a mess everywhere. All the kids proceed to explode and people saying that they didn't do it. I didn't get anything. I didn't have money left. I got, insert not vanilla ice cream, and so on. I was so nervous and scared that I said nothing. I looked neutral, but my brain was going wild. I look around. Nobody saw me make that mess. I look at the bus. People, multiple people, were in the bus, probably checking out the mess. Some kid in my class turns to me. You know anything, Shaun? No, I completely just lied right there. I feel so bad for saying no, but I did not want to hear what happened if I said yes. Yelling? Maybe me crying? Not today. The math teacher then goes something like, who did it? Say it if you did it. Guess what? My nervous self said nothing. And of course, since no other kid did it, they said nothing as well. I bet that every other kid was probably guessing some kid. But me? Why not me? Because I'm a very behaved kid, and sadly, that's what I think the teachers thought as well. I never, at any point, was called out by a teacher or kid. We get sent back to RTI, and I just back to what I was doing. Like nothing happened. They couldn't figure out who did it because there isn't any cameras in the bus and nobody said anything. So they gave up on the case. So that meant nobody knew, nor wanted to guess that I did it. I feel so bad. I'm never gonna confess, but I'm so sorry to the people that had to clean that. I would be mortified if I was an adult that had cleaned that. And now last story, story 4. I've been lying about my age for nearly 7 years. Basically just what the title says. I joined social media in the 6th grade and quickly made tons of friends online, but they were all 13 to 14 when I was just an 11-year-old kid, so I lied about being 3 years older than I actually am. I'm close to turning 18 soon, and the guilt has been eating me alive, but I'm just so heartbroken by the idea I'll lose friendships I've built over these past years. I'm sure most people probably wouldn't care enough to end the friendship with me because quite a few of them are around my age anyways, 17 to 21. But I'm sure it would cause my reputation to be tarnished, and the few adults who are already much older than me to be disgusted about being friends with such a youngin'. For example, I have a friend who's so supportive and has been so nice to me who's 24, and I feel they might be disgusted with knowing I'm actually 6 years younger than they are. I also just know so many people who have built a supportive community around me, and even though my current real relationships aren't bad at all, I've essentially grown up with these people and gotten attached to them. Lately, I just feel so guilty and so trapped. So many great things have been happening lately, and I want to talk about them, but I obviously can't. I recently, yesterday, came clean to 2 of my friends that I've known for the past 6 years, and they took it really well, but they're also around my age and have never been serious people. So I assume their reactions would be drastically different than some of my other friends will be if I decide to come clean about it. They don't really have an opinion on the whole thing because they're okay with still being friends, and have actually joked with me and laughed with me about the whole thing, and aren't pressuring me to tell the truth, but one of them is just concerned I'll become very overwhelmed, and it'll just spill out anyways in the future if I don't just come clean now like I did with them. I'm also scared because I had a relationship with someone at the age of 12 when she was 15. I'm ashamed to admit I didn't see anything wrong with this at the time, and we also frequently talked explicitly, and we're great friends now and have been only friends for the past 5 years now, but I know she'd probably feel disgusted if she found out. I don't want to lose her because of the history between us, but I also understand I'm way in over my head for the reality of my age. I'm just so frustrated and disgusted with myself too for letting it go on this long. I'm definitely not saying I'm mature because if I was this would have never happened, but I am extremely academically intelligent, and I assume most of these people don't suspect me because of how I carry myself.